War Politics. I'm your host, Darlene Price, and yes, we got a microphone. We actually had this in the back of my van for like a couple of times, and I kept forgetting to use it. So we'll try to remember to use it tonight, because I know on the Facebook thing, people were having problems hearing us. So anyway, welcome to this special edition of Truth or Politics. I'm your host, Darlene Price. And before we get started, we're also going to be live on MBR TV tonight. We want to thank the folks at MBR TV, Steve Hall, the man, the myth, the legend, behind the scenes, for having us on television and not running any ads, so nobody can threaten to take his ads away. We are commercial free on MBR TV. Thank you, Steve Hall. We want to thank everybody else behind the scenes. We want to thank tonight Big Dan, the man, Gibson, my pit bull out of Pulaski County, for being here tonight, and of course behind the scenes, Michael Mann, and everybody else that helps with Truth or Politics. We're going to start off by thanking you. Okay, so here's what be going on. Let me just start off. This kind of kicked off and started with Mayor Keck, my favorite mayor. I'm going to be bumbling around with this microphone because I'm not used to having glasses on a microphone here. Okay, so he sent a letter, and there's no date on it, but it was about a week or so ago. And by the way, here's an official letter from the mayor, who spends thousands of dollars on people trying to, counsel him on how to be a mayor, and his consulting fees. And remember, we exposed this once before, and yet on the letter he doesn't have a date or anything else on this letter. Okay, so Sherlock Holmes once said, or the mythical figure Sherlock Holmes once said, follow the money. So here we go. Mayor Keck sends a letter to the Pulaski County Physical Court. And the letter was supposed to be private. He didn't want anybody else to see it. Unfortunately for him, unfortunately for us, somebody leaked it. Thank you to the person who leaked it. We appreciate it. And I just want to say this. In a follow-up meeting about the leaking of this letter, Mayor Keck kind of threw a fit about it. It was a private letter. And let me just say this. No, it's not. When you are a public official, when you are writing a letter with your letterhead on it, on your time, that is the public's document. Let me be crystal doggone clear about that. That's the public's document. We pay you, the citizens pay public officials to do their job. And when you write a letter like this, and you try to send it in secret, which is what he didn't like about it, that it got out in the public, shame on you. That shows a lack of transparency on your part. This is not your private letter. This is the public's piece of paper. It belongs to the public, and it should have never been sent private. That being said, I'm just going to read some of it. I have posted this. You guys can look at it yourself. Basically, he's saying, hey, we can't fund, the city of Somerset does not have the money to continue funding EMS at its current status. He puts the numbers down there, and he's basically crunching the numbers. And part of what he says in this letter, and it's kind of a threatening letter, not threatening, but threatening letter to the county. If you don't cough up more money, because the county contributes money to the EMS service, and Somerset provides EMS service for the whole county. If you don't contribute more money, we may just have to stop giving EMS service to the county. So, and one of the things he also says is, and I'm going to quote this, I support a taxing district for EMS, and I still believe that this is the best alternative for our community. However, that solution has been rejected. Perhaps in the future we can get its due consideration. So what he's really bucking for is a special taxing district for EMS. AKA, get ready, your taxes are going to be raised for EMS. Now, why is that a problem? Now, does anybody not support EMS? No. Everybody wants EMS. Now, everybody knows how important EMS workers are. Everybody thinks they should be paid properly and have proper benefits. Okay, that's not the argument. The argument is, and physical court then had a meeting. I think it was yesterday. They've had a couple of meetings on this. And physical court, apparently one of the magistrates came back at Keck, and one of the things in their meeting, and Keck quotes this, last night, Keck had a special meeting about this, about the EMS, and the county's response to his letter. And one of the things that somebody, one of the magistrates apparently said, and I'm quoting Keck from his meeting, who he is quoting apparently a magistrate. And the magistrate said, it's not a problem of funding, but a problem of mismanagement, focus of resources. In other words, making that comment about Mayor Keck, which, of course, Mayor Keck, he didn't like that. So now, at last night's meeting, I highly suggest, and I've posted this meeting everywhere, highly suggest you can watch last night's city council meeting. It'll be, at the very least, entertaining. Some of the quotes, though, I'm gonna go ahead and quote from last night's meeting. He says, Keck says, I had hoped that this transparency, more transparent and not behind the scenes, but and doing it in a way to not air our proverbial dirty laundry. In other words, he was hoping to be able to do some of these meetings behind the scene. Okay, that's not transparency. Okay, even though you're saying, well, we want to be transparent, but we want to have meetings behind the scene. Okay, well, we can't have both. Then he says, I recognize...
May I ask a question?
Sure. Wait.
With
that statement, is he admitting that they have dirty laundry?
I don't know. I don't think he's admitting that. I just think he said proverbial dirty laundry, so I don't think he meant that. Okay, so further he says, I recognize these are tough times, and in an unfair world where people lose their retirement benefits and insurance or their job overall. Now, he says how much he supports EMS, but go back and listen to this, because you got to pay attention when people like Keck say things. Says, I support EMS, nobody better, oh, God and country and this. And then he says things like this. I recognize that these are times, there are times in a world where people lose their retirement benefits or insurance or their job overall. Then he goes into himself, which he always does because it's all about him. Several of my family members have experienced that, and decades of experience to a single company. However, it's not my intent to commit that won't happen. Okay, go re-listen to that quote, because you know what that is, well, I'm going to do my best, but things happen, Why would you even mention that if that wasn't a subtle threat, okay? I think if I was an EMS worker and I heard this comment like that, again, don't take my word for it. Go to the city council meeting last night. Listen very carefully what he says. Because, that can be construed as, if I'm an EMS worker, as, a subtle little hint, a subtle threat. Oh, this can happen. Well, maybe it wouldn't happen if, and I agree with these magistrates, if you hadn't done some misspending on your own. Okay, so then he also says on split services, because there was some back and forth about splitting the services. He says, and I quote, I have a willingness to do so. If backed into a corner, that's what we will do to protect the citizens of Somerset. I don't know where this quote, and then he says, I don't know where this quote came from. That is not my intent and won't be my intent. Okay, well, again, he talks out of both sides of his mouth, and I'm sorry, but you're talking out of both sides of your mouth. You can't say, I have a willingness to do so, and then I don't know where this quote came from. That is not my intent. Okay, well, saying something's not my intent, you're not guaranteeing anything. And this goes back to my understanding, and I'm trying to get a copy of this. I will get a copy of this and post it. Apparently, Keck committed to a 10-year agreement with the county. We will provide services for 10 years. You pitch in this much money and we'll do it. And now he's basically reneging on that deal. So, and the county sees it that way. Okay, well, some other quotes from last night. Advisory board. Okay, so he also says this, which kind of blew my mind. Agreed to a new advisory board, can't have the ultimate say. So they were talking about having an advisory board, which anybody knows anything about these advisory boards in the state of Kentucky, it's a great sucking hole, and these advisory boards most of them have no authority, because people like him, and he says, That's not acceptable for what they say. So he wants control, but, you know, he doesn't want responsibility. So that's what that sounds like. And then he says this: you can't have a board overseeing something that's $8.5 to $9 million budget with 50 employees. Somebody has to be in charge. Let me repeat that. This is in his meeting last night. He says you can't have somebody have a board overseeing something that's $8.5, $9 million. Really, you can't have a board doing that without somebody being in charge. My question to you, Mayor Keck, is then what is SPEDA? Because you just described SPEDA and all the money that they've spent, and we're going to get into that in just a minute. You know, be careful what you say, because you know that's the first thing I thought of. You know, the SPEDA is way more than $8.5, $9 million budget. So anyway, getting all the people in the public meeting. I don't think. Oh, then he says, one of the council members spoke up and says, well, I recommend all of us, the city and the county leadership, the city council members, and the magistrates and the county judge executives sit down and in a meeting, be transparent, and hash this out. And you know what? I agree with him. That's exactly what should happen. Instead of these little meetings here, meetings there, back and forth, it's too hard for the public to follow, and we shouldn't have to. Keck's response to this was, getting all these people in a public meeting, I don't think that's going to happen. Well, the question is, why not? Why not? Why can't that happen? Okay? That's exactly what needs to happen. And you need to have it at night. I'll say this about the city council in Somerset. They have their meetings in the evening so people can show up and voice their opinion and ask questions. You know, the county judge executive and the magistrates up there, shame on you for not having your meetings at night. Okay? This having your meetings in the daytime when everybody has to work is BS. It just is. You're not being transparent. You're making sure that the public can't show up and ask questions, because most people have to work, you know. They have jobs. And, you know, if you want to be more transparent, start having your meetings at night. And we've dogged you about that and dogged you about that, and you don't even respond to that. So, and at least I'll say this. I hit these people with open records requests. I hit the city, I hit the county, and I hit SPEDA with open records requests. I'll say this. John Adams has stepped up because, you know, before we had some problems with the city and John Adams. And the Attorney General's office kind of got after him. So the city and SPEDA coughed up some documents. Now, the SPEDA didn't cough up the documents I wanted, but they coughed up actually better. They coughed up the audit, which is pretty bad. So, but the county, you know, county judge executive, Mr. Todd, you are way past your time frame. And I don't want to hear, oh, we didn't get it, you didn't send it right. I filled out your little form. It got faxed to the number that's on your form on your website, and it was emailed to you. So the fact that you have not responded to my open records request, that's not very transparent either. And we're going to get those records, okay? Already got a bunch of them. We're going to get them. So one way or another, I always get the records. So you might as well cough them up. And when you don't cough them up and you don't respond to an email, that don't look good. It don't look good. Okay, so me and these glasses are going to drive me crazy. All right, bear with me trying to struggle with this microphone and glasses. Okay. Oh, okay, here's another one. Magistrate David Godsey last night. Not magistrate, sorry. City Councilman David Godsey in the City Councilman meeting last night. He said this: what kind of mismanagement have we had when we have clean audits every year? Thank you, Mr. Godsey, for bringing this up. Thank you for the perfect segue about these audits, okay? The audit that I posted a lot of, here it is, by the way. And people are saying, well, why didn't you post the whole thing? Well, look at it. You know, it's like 400 pages long. Google would not let me upload the whole thing. Besides, none of you, it's so tiny, the print, none of you are going to go look at it. And I did post the link anyway to this audit. You can go to SPEDA's audit page, hit the link, and look at the audit yourself. Now, back to these audits. Yeah, clean audit. Well, not really. Okay, these audits are hand-picked companies paid for by the city, or in SPEDA's case, paid for by SPEDA. These are not real audits. These are bean counters who just sit and crunch the numbers. Nowhere do they ask questions. Oh, by the way, Mayor Keck, what did you spend about who gave you permission to spend about $30,000 on resort hotels and high-end restaurants on the city's dime through their city credit card? Nobody asks questions. There's a whole bunch of stuff in the SPEDA audit that somebody, if it was a real audit, would have been questioning. I can guarantee you a real audit like the IRS does would be one of these. Sit down. I'm going to record this. And you can either plead the fifth, in which case I'm opening up a criminal investigation, or you can answer these questions. And they're going to be asking some real questions, okay? Another thing about these clean audits that are not really audits. In the SPEDA thing, there is, and we're going to go into the numbers that I posted. There's thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars that just say credit card, Chris Girdler or whoever, and then an expenditure. You know, there's no saying what this money was spent on. That's not a real audit either. Okay, and the city of Somerset has the same kind of audits. I am going to touch on this FBI report. Several years ago, the FBI did a study, and also this, I think it was the University of Illinois. They did a whole study, and you can pull this up, that talked about Kentucky being the most corrupt state in the nation. And they talked about these boards and these so-called audits, and how, oh, I have a clean audit, and how they're not real audits, and what a joke it is. So when these city councilmen and SPEDA brag about, oh, we had a clean audit, well, that's because you didn't have a real audit, okay? You had somebody crunching. By the way, I found some of the math is wrong in here, too. I think it was like a $3,000 difference on one thing. But anyways, these are not real audits. Not what you think an audit should be. That's not what these audits are. So when they say they have a clean audit, no, they're not real audits. So I just want to touch on that, too.
If they don't tell what they're spending the money on, how can it be an audit?
It's not. It's not. By the way, get ready, because I hit the summer, like on Mayor Keck's spending, I had a heads up about that. I hit the city of Somerset up for the actual bills, the actual credit card statements on Mayor Keck's spending of his hotels and everything. And they had to cough that up. So guess what, SPEDA? You're going to have to, too. You will, and I am going to send an open records request requesting these thousands and thousands of dollars of credit card bills, which I will post. Now, if you choose not to cough them up, we'll just have a visit to the Attorney General's office and see what he says, and that won't be transparency. Okay, so know that's coming. I'm just going to leave my glasses on because they're driving me nuts. Okay, so then I posted the outline of the audit and some of the things I pulled out of the audit. Again, this is like 400 pages long. Please go look at it yourself. You know, do the math yourself. But I want to get into, you know, basically what SPEDA is. SPEDA stands for Somerset Pulaski County Economic Development. The SPEDA leadership, this is directly from their website. The president and CEO is Chris Girdler. The Julian Nelson Harris is the VP of Operations and Communications, and Jessica Carlton is the office manager. Now, there's a whole board of directors. I'm not going to read all these people. But guess who's on the board of directors for SPEDA? Mayor Alan Keck and County Judge Executive Marshall Todd. Okay, so, you know, who can you hold this accountable for this spending or misspending, depending on your opinion? Guess what? Mayor Keck and Marshall Todd, this is the Somerset Mayor, and the County Judge Executive, you're on this board. So the question is, as I go through this, what are you doing? I mean, have you even looked at this audit? I mean, really looked at it like I did and seen some of this stuff? Have you asked any questions?
Now, what position did you say they held? Are they the head dogs of the board?
They are board members. Okay, there's a CEO, but then there's another chairman and a vice chairman, and then there's legal counsel, and there's all kinds of board members.
Well, since those two gentlemen are the
Elected officials.
elected head of our governments in this county, would it not be their responsibility to see that the spending is proper?
Bing, 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 bing. Okay, perfect point. Nailed it. Okay, so the only two elected officials on this board that spends all of this money, okay, is Mayor Keck and County Judge Executive Todd. So, yes. And SPEED is listed as a community foundation, a 501(c)(3). Here's something else I noticed too I want to hit on. As I went through this, and by the way, I literally spent about 28 hours on this all day Friday. I came in and worked all weekend, Saturday and Sunday, pulling out numbers and things that I thought were raised an eyebrow, to say the least. One of the things that I don't see anywhere in here is where any of these contracts for services are bidded out. And, you know, is that illegal? I don't know. But, you know, it don't look good. It really don't look good. I'm not saying that it's illegal. You know, it don't look good when a lot of the money being spent through SPEDA magically goes to businesses of board members. That don't look good, okay? Now, I'm not saying that's illegal. It probably ain't in the state of Kentucky. But it certainly has the appearance of a conflict of interest. Go.
I don't know if it's still that way, but there's a certain amount of thousands of dollars. Anything under that, they can get anybody they want to. But once it goes over a certain amount, and I don't remember the figure at the moment,
Right.
then it has to be bidded.
Yeah, and I'm in contact with the person on the state ethics committee, and we're looking at that. Because if that's true, then SPEDA may have some problems, okay? Because and I'll get into that in a minute, but I didn't see anywhere where there's any spending, you know, any ads, anything for bids where they're bidding out these boat trips, other trips, you know, when they're renting the party boats, for, you know, consultation, whatever, that they're bidding these things out, and magically board members are getting these contracts and stuff. That don't look good. Again, not saying it's anything illegal, but know this: we will be investigating that. Okay. Also,
Are you telling me that they're spending big money renting houseboats and having big parties to decide which one of their buddies they're going to give contracts to? Is that what's going on?
no, I'm not saying that. I'm saying, and I posted this, they have spent big money on houseboat parties. Now, who's on these houseboat parties, I don't know. But for sure, and we're going to get it. Let me get into the details of that here in a minute, okay? Also, I posted this too, just recently. A lot of my posts, you have to go down to the comments and see the documents that I posted. Here's something that kind of raises an eyebrow too. In 2019, government support for SPEDA was $406,000. And I jumped to 2023. In 2023, government support for SPEDA was $436,000. Yet, under total expenses, in 2019, total expenses for SPEDA, this is from their audit on their website, $143,230. In 2023, the total expenses were $1,283,119. You know, I don't have a math degree, but going from $143,000 in just a couple of years to $1,283,119, it raises an eyebrow. Yeah, it just does. It raises an eyebrow. So,
Well, do you have anything about what those funds are being spent on?
Yeah, we're going to get into that. Hold on. It's coming. Okay, SPEDA expenditures. And keep in mind, what I have pulled out and posted is just a sampling of this, because there is a crap load of credit card expenditures from board members and people that are not explained. It just says credit card expenditure, whatever. And we're going to get those. Okay? So this is just some of it that kind of caught my eye, and I did the math, okay, for you. Because this is here's the thing, like expenditures for Commonwealth Journal, the paper up there, you know, they're scattered all in through here. I had to pull them out page by page and then put them in so you can see. So that's another thing about these audits. A real audit would have had that differentiated. A real audit would have said Commonwealth Journal this much.
And all of that fine print would take a Philadelphia lawyer to go through there and do what you've done to consolidate just one issue, like what's being spent on advertising.
Right.
But the general public works for a living. They don't have time to do all this kind of thing that you've just been doing. So they are essentially uninformed, totally uninformed. And thank you for informing me.
Well, let's not Philadelphia lawyers, since my daughter is one.
I'm not.
But yeah, it took me all weekend. I literally took all weekend to do this, and all day Friday. So 3 days I spent on this, and it's still not all of this. Okay, so Commonwealth Journal from 2020 to 2023, and then we're always wondering, why does the Commonwealth Journal? Why do you not ever ask a question? You remember we did a whole show. I called them the Commonwealth Parrot. Why you don't ever ask a question? Why is SPEDA so great in your paper? Well, perhaps we have the answer for that, and it's 20,861 reasons why the Commonwealth Journal loves SPEDA. 20,861 reasons.
Follow the money.
Follow the money. Okay. Other advertising, and this is like 3 pages of other advertising. Okay. So I've posted this. Look at it for yourself. If anything, I missed something, so it's probably more. It's at least this going through it. So other advertising for SPEDA from 2020 to 2023, so it's just 3 years, $144,198. Now, why is this important? Okay. Well, when you got the county judge and the magistrates and the mayor arguing over we can't fund EMS, somebody's got to cough up more money, and threatening to raise your taxes to fund EMS, okay, because that's what he meant when he says, I support a special taxing district. Anybody who has any idea of what a special taxing district is, get ready. That means bend over, put your head between your legs, and you know what, because it means a new tax, okay, a big one. So, what's more important, SPEDA advertising for $144,198 or EMS? What's more important, 20-something thousand, 20,861 for Commonwealth Journal ads or EMS? Right there's a couple of 3 EMS employees, maybe a paramedic, okay? And then we get into office equipment and decorations. One that jumped out at me, and it's at the top, and I put it at the top of the page, even though it's 2022, because it just kind of blew my mind. Lexington Arts at a Hero Returns, okay? A poster of a horse for $7,500 for the SPEDA office. Now, you're threatening to raise people's taxes. You're threatening to cut, and Mayor Keck's been threatening to cut EMS for a while, especially after we got the lead chase contract stopped. In fact, maybe it's a coincidence, maybe not, that he started talking about EMS funding after that.
Immediately after the
right.
lead chase problem.
Right. So, but what do you need more? A Lexington Arts Horse Hero Returns poster at the speed office for $7,500? Or do you need EMS? You know, a receptionist desk, $1,800. You know, Magic Money. Here's the other thing. I want somebody, I didn't pull out the t-shirts. Somebody, please, watching the show tonight, get your calculator out and add up the thousands of dollars on Speeda t-shirts and jackets. Okay? And Monogram Slim koozies, $1,050. Speeda t-shirts, $2,000. Speeda jackets, $400. Magic Monogram jackets, $1,074. And he goes on. Another Magic Monogram Speeda t-shirts, $2,800. There's at least an EMS employee right there. Lake Cumberland beach towels, $647. Who's getting all these t-shirts and stuff? I know they're going to say, well, it's advertisement. Okay. Well, do you need t-shirts and beer koozies, or do you need an EMS employee? Yes, Michael.
And now these contracts went to board members?
I don't know who owns Magic Monogram Speeda.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I have been told that they're affiliated with the board. I have not verified that. But some of the other stuff, the consultation and counseling, some of the other stuff, and we're going to get to that. Those are board members. Okay.
And we can verify these other things with time.
Yeah, believe me, like I said, it took about 28 hours of work just to go through this and bring you what I've already gotten. This is not the end of this. We are going to hit them with more open records requests. We're going to bring you more information. Okay, so one half of the cost of a video walls at the Bluegrass Airport. Okay, $5,130. So the other half, another $5,000. So they spent $10,260 on, basically a poster or something at the Somerset, at the Bluegrass Airport. Now, do you need $10,000 of an ad about Speeda at the airport? Or do you need an EMS employee? Because, I'm telling you, the leadership up there needs to really be looking at this. And America, because Speeda's getting a bad rap. Well, no, they're not. No, they're not. They're not getting a bad rap. This is money that possibly could be going to EMS, not to T-shirts, to horse posters, to billboards. It's just, what is a better use of the taxpayers' money? This or EMS? I mean, and they get a lot of donations. I got to say, Speeda gets a lot of donations. But if Speeda didn't exist, and perhaps, people would donate more to EMS, I don't know. But this don't look good.
And which one do you need the most? Do you need to advertise the county, or do you need the EMS?
Right. And that's...
Make a logical choice.
Here it is again, more T-shirts, 2,940. 2023, another order for T-shirts, 1,522. New school color T-shirt, Magic Moments, 2,030. Oh, these are 5,000 in 2023. Magic Monograms, Colonel C T-shirts, $5,000. Somebody please go and do the math and add up these T-shirts, because these T-shirts look like probably around $30,000 in T-shirts and beer koozies. That's a lot of money, for T-shirts and beer koozies. Okay. Also, Speeda monthly rental space is $3,000 a month. I went up to the office up there. They have like a whole wing, and yes, it's beautifully decorated, really nice. Some of the glass looks like the real crystal glass and everything. $36,000 a year worth of just rental stuff. Okay. So do you need rental space for Speeda? A whole wing and 3 or 4 offices for $36,000 a year? Or do you need an EMS employee? Employee incentives.
Do we know who owns that property?
That's the city of Somerset owns that. I think that energy building, the city of Somerset is charging them rent. So I'm assuming the city of Somerset owns the building. I don't know that for sure. But they're the ones, Speeda is paying that rent to the city of Somerset. Okay, so employee incentives. Here's another one that blew my mind. 2019, $27,000. $27,000 to employee incentives to SPEDA. Well, right there's an EMS employee, which is important. Some office worker in SPEDA, or,
It's a bonus.
2019 to 2020. And here's another thing about these audits. That's all it says. Employee incentives, $27,000. Now, let me tell you what a real audit would do. I want the breakdown of who got these incentives.
And how much?
How did they get the incentives? Show me the money. That's what a real audit would do. This audit doesn't do that. That's why it's not a real audit. This is why it's real easy to get a clean audit for the city and for SPEDA when the audits aren't real. I'm sorry, but that's not a real audit. Real auditors ask questions and make you produce who, what, where, when, and why. This audit does not do that. Okay, so here's another one. Board retreat. So I guess the whole board got to go on a retreat. Just the guest speaker for this retreat, $2,500. Dude, I'm about to give Dan a heart attack. Dan's going to sit over here. See, you need EMS. You need EMS because people like Dan are going to croak out of a heart attack and stroke out. And I got to be able to dial 911 for Dan because I know he's over here about to have a stroke over this stuff. So don't stroke out on this. But luckily, we're not in Pulaski County because we got EMS right next door. But I'm sorry, $2,500 for a guest speaker at a board retreat. Really? Is that the best? Is that the best spending of donations and taxpayer money? Of course, they'll come up with excuse. Well, we deserve that. We work hard. Well, you know what? EMS workers. Guess who else works hard? Harder than SPEDA people. EMS workers. That's who really works hard. Okay, now, whole reason I kind of got into this, and my open records request actually asked more about this than this other crap. But thank you for coughing up this other crap, okay? I had received all kinds of information about the HSB, Horse Soldier Bourbon. That's where these people were supposed to come up here and build a whole manufacturing whatever thing for a bourbon facility where they're going to make the bourbon, okay? Now, pay close attention to this because the actual spending for this HSB, Horse Soldier Bourbon, and through all the thing I put HSB, that means Horse Soldier Bourbon. I just don't want to retype Horse Soldier Bourbon 8 million times. HSB. The spending for this starts in 2019. It's 2024. And my understanding is what we got out of all this spending was we got a sign. So, and the infrastructure, which, the taxpayers paid for. And the property next door. And I'm going to get into that for a minute. Well, let's start at 2019. The Horse Soldier Visit Dinner cost $1,924. That's their dinner. I guess try to get these people to come up here and build this. Then the breakfast, which I guess is the next day, is $404. Horse Soldier Visit to Mellow Mushroom, $245. Horse HSB New York trip. Now, these are board members traveling to New York and different places to the Horse Soldier Bourbon places and spending money to do research, I guess. I'm sure that's what they're going to say. 2019, $1,023. New York trip, $135. New York trip, $1,550. HSB Somerset visit to Hampton Inn. By the way, Hampton Inn is owned by, my understanding, a board member. If that is incorrect, I will retract that. But here you go again. Hampton Inn has a board member or affiliated member to the board, and now they get the HSB visit. There's other inns up there. $2,241. Cody Gibson, who was a former board member of HSB, Texas trip, $114. Uber reimbursement. Lake Cumberland Regional Airport jet fuel for Texas trip. Now, if you're fueling up a jet at the Lake Cumberland Regional Airport for $1,748. That tells me you're taking a private jet, that these board members got on a private jet with the fuel and flew to New York. Okay? Maybe I'm wrong, but it says in their audit, Lake Cumberland Regional Airport, jet fuel, Texas trip 2019, $1,748. You know, there's a lot of ways cheaper to travel than a private jet. Okay, Jayco Limousine Services out of Lexington, $2,205. HSB Somerset Visit Transportation, Jayco Limousine Service, $1,700. Here we go, more Magic Monogram T-shirts for HSB T-shirts, $408. HSB titles, something, British PLC, HSB Prep and Assessment, $1,680. Kentucky Monthly, full page ad. This is all 2019-2020. Okay. This is early on. This is a lot of years ago. Okay. Kentucky Monthly back page ad, $3,800. Kentucky Monthly full page ad for Horse Soldier Bourbon, $5,000. $5,000 for a full page ad. Okay. HSB Waitsboro option to purchase 2020. This is just the option to purchase the Waitsboro golf course area, where my understanding this is to be built. Just the option was $10,000. Then the HSB AGE Energy Survey for the property, $15,000. JD Land Survey, $1,900. HSB closing fees, $445. Catering for the groundbreaking. Let me repeat this. 2021. Catering for the groundbreaking for HSB, $10,900. T-shirts for the groundbreaking, $424. Groundbreaking invitations, $111. Groundbreaking, $3,340. For plaques and shovels, you know, the little shovels that do the groundbreaking, $3,345. Dudes, I could have gone to Lowe's.
Oh, Elizabeth.
Don't stroke out of me. I could have gone to Lowe's, bought some cheap-ass shovels, and taken a gold spray paint and saved you $3,000. Now, when this magistrate talks about misspending of money, perhaps he's read this audit, Mayor Keck. I mean, I'm sorry, but Kentucky Abstract and Title Service for the HSB closing property, $9,000. Kentucky Abstract Title Service, Title Insurance, $4,000. Another set, excuse me, another set of announcements, $500. Total, up to 2023, without the purchase of the property, okay, let me repeat this. This is just for the hoopla
Before the purchase.
before the purchase of property or infrastructure. They spent on HSB or Soldier Bourbon $81,061. That's before, you know, this was before the purchase of the property. Without the purchase of the property. We're going to get into that in a minute. Okay, so also there's some questions about some houseboat rentals. Tyler Cox houseboat cleaning, $1,425. This is all 2021, 22. 2022, $1,400. 2022, $1,425. Prather houseboat detail, $1,400. Prather boat cleaning, $106. Houseboat cruise captain, $325. Gary Eaton summer houseboat tours, $1,890. And then House Republican Caucus retreat, private events. That's word for word what it says on this audit. Let me repeat. House Republican Caucus retreat, private event, 2022, $500. Limo service, private limo service, $1,895. Dinner and drinks, $1,192.47. Okay, catering and event planning, $1,800. Here's the thing. Did the people making donations and the taxpayers give you permission in any way? And this is what a real audit would do. What a real auditor would do is say, who authorized this? All this money for the Republican caucus retreat. Show me where somebody in their donation specifically earmarked for this. Okay? Show me where the taxpayers agreed to pay for a party, and I'm not picking on the Republican Party. If it was Democrats, I'd be doing the same thing. Okay? A private party for a political party. That's what a real audit would do. Go ahead.
Can I ask, since we've determined that the people who are really in charge of what SPEDA does is the mayor and Judge Todd, County Judge Todd. They're really responsible because they're there and they represent the public. They're the ones who were elected to do this. And they're the ones who are responsible for doing this, or allowing this.
I don't know who approved it. And you know what? Nobody knows who approved it because that's not in your audit. That's why it's not a real audit. But bottom line is, the only two elected officials on this SPEDA board are the county judge executive and the mayor. So who are you going to hold responsible? The taxpayers can't hold these other people responsible. How are they going to hold them responsible? They're not elected positions. This is why most people don't like special boards. Okay? Because it's, when it's taxpayer money, then it's nobody's money. And who's following the money? Well, until we did it, apparently nobody's following the money because these auditors, this should have raised a red flag to any auditor with half a brain. Sorry, but your company doing this audit, it did not do a real audit. They just sat down and got their calculator out. Okay, you spent this much, you took this much in. Okay, well, that's it. You got a clean audit. I mean, there were bean counters. That's not a real audit. Go ahead.
Once again, who hires these auditors?
Handpicked, of course, by the board and paid for by the board, just like Mayor Keck's clean audit is handpicked by Mayor Keck and paid for by Mayor Keck. And in fact, I even posted the actual where Mayor Keck paid for the audit. Well, when you're buying your own audit, how accurate is it going to be? And if you're a private company and you're doing these audits, you want them to hire you again. How willing are you going to be to say, no, this was not allowed. Nowhere in there does anything say that this auditor said, oh, by the way, I'm going to go ahead and contact the Attorney General's office on this. No. Go ahead, Michael.
Now, whenever you said that Mayor Keck paid for it, did he pay for it out of his?
No. No, the taxpayers paid for it. Mayor Keck doesn't pay for anything. He doesn't even pay for his own hotel bills and resorts and vacations. Are you kidding me? No. Taxpayers paid for it, okay? So, let me move on. Now, EHA, CPAs and advisors, Cumberland Bank Security, billed SPEDA $72,146. It's a lot of money for CPA advisors who never questioned any of this either, okay? And then the law office of Jeremy Bartley. And I don't mean to pick on Jeremy Bartley Law Office, okay? Jeremy Bartley and his wife are excellent lawyers. They are. If you don't believe me, go watch. Well, I wish they had recorded it. It's not on camera anywhere. But I watched them. This was the police captain that got caught stealing the evidence and the drugs and everything out of the evidence room. They represented him at his hearing, for sentencing hearing.
Very, very skillful.
Very skillful. They did a good job. I mean, they did. So this is not any slight to Jeremy Bartley and his legal services. That, they're good, they're great attorneys. They are. They just really are. But here's the question. Do you want the SPEDA to pay $77,778.38 to a law office, whether Jerry, me, Bartley, or anybody?
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
Is he a member of the board?
Yes, he is a member of the board.
How can you pay a member of the board?
How can you pay a member of the board that kind of money and not say that doesn't sound right to me?
Right. Well, in the state of Kentucky, so far, I'm researching this, that none of these are conflicts of interest. However, I've been told by some other people, and again, we're going to run this down. Some of these may be conflicts of interest. Here's the thing, whether it's legal or not, when you're spending people's hard-earned donations and the taxpayers' money, you have an obligation, especially the two elected positions on this board, Mayor Keck and Todd. You have an obligation to not have the appearance of a conflict of interest, okay? And when you're paying a lawyer, a good lawyer, and you're paying them $77,778, and he's on the board, this kind of money. By the way, the county attorney I don't think the county attorney for Pulaski County makes that much. He doesn't. This is a county attorney who's responsible for the entire county, but this board pays a law firm $77,000. Again, $77,000 would sure pay at least 2 EMS, maybe a paramedic for a year. It comes down to, what do you taxpayers want in Pulaski County and Somerset? Do you want SPEDA to spend the hard-earned donations and the money that, by the way, the county helps fund SPEDA. Your tax dollars help fund SPEDA. Somerset tax dollars help fund SPEDA. Donations help fund SPEDA. Is this how you want your money spent, or is EMS more important? That's really what this comes down to. And that's the point I'm trying to make. We're not trying to bash any single business or anything. If I own a business up there and SPEDA came to me and said, hey, we want to hire you for whatever. What are you going to pay me? Oh, $77,000. Bing, bing. Yeah, I'm in. Who's going to turn that down? Nobody is. So it's not, we're not trying to shame the businesses or anything, but at some point, whoever the magistrate that said that, brought up the point of misspending, thank you, magistrate, for bringing that up. Where's the accountability? Definitely not in this audit. This audit shows no accountability. It shows accounting. Let me repeat that. This audit and the Somerset City audit shows no accountability for spending. It just shows accounting. There's a difference between somebody coming in and making sure that your math works. Difference, a real audit is they're asking questions. The Somerset audit, had the auditors done a real audit, they would have said, why did you spend $1 million on a university, a private Christian university, a bridge to nowhere that never got built, and you got to hire your brother and pay him some money to clear the property? The audit missed that. So when they say and tout, we got a clean audit. Well, no, you got a clean math problem. That's it. No questions. There's a lot of questions that a real auditor would have asked, and there's a lot more transparency that would have went on if this were a real audit. Okay, I'm running short here. Okay, also, Triple Edge Creative LLC, Julie Nelson Harris. She is the SPEDA VP of Operations and Communications. She is on the board. She starts out in 2020 charging them $3,000 a month. Okay, by 2023 she's at $3,500 a month, and that SPEDA has paid her $144,500. Let me repeat that. SPEDA, your donations, your tax dollars went to a board member for, for, I guess, counseling, telling them how to run a business, which you got a mayor on there, and you got, the county judge executive. Isn't that their job, that they kind of know what SPEDA is doing and tell them, no, don't do this? No, you've got a board member making $144,500. Again, I don't know this woman, never met her before in my life. She may be the best operations and communications person on the face of this earth. She may be, just it when it comes to that. But here's the question. again, it's an appearance of a conflict of interest. Is it a legal conflict of interest? Probably not. But when you have a board member making this much money, $144,500, when you got a county judge on the board, and you've got a mayor on the board who, you know, we elect you to do these kind of things. The citizens up there elected you for accountability, not to pay yet another person $144,500. And then it goes back to the question, how many EMS people and paramedics would $144,500 pay? So, I think you're getting my point. Okay. Let's move on to the county. Let's see, what else I got here? Okay, so we hit the city with an open records request, and thank you, John Adams, because he really did cough up stuff. So, go ahead.
I have a question before you go to the county. On SPEDA, you know, we've heard their spending and stuff. Do they have any accomplishments for this spending?
Yeah, they do. And you know what? Thank you for bringing that up. They do have some accomplishments. They do. One of the things I notice in here is they contributed heavily and did a lot of work working with the Somerset Community College for a lineman, the guys that, is that the right word I'm using? Linemen, where they climb up to do the telephone poles. Training, experience, and a facility and everything for that. They did that. I'm not saying SPEDA has done nothing but misspend your money. I'm not saying that, okay? They've done some good. But all this other stuff, especially all these credit card bills where there's no explanation, you know, it raises an eyebrow. And it is questionable. When you spend $7,000 for a horse print to decorate your office, you know, it comes down to want versus need. Right? Maybe I'm wrong. Okay, so, City of Somerset bought the property adjacent to the Horse Soldier Bourbon HSB, whatever it is, okay, what they're going to build or not build, okay? They spent $360,000, let me repeat that, $360,000 in cash in hand, and the city, you taxpayers, paid for the property next to it to run the infrastructure, which is the plumbing and everything, for a private business. Now, is that illegal? Probably not. But there's a lot of businesses up there that would like the city taxpayers to pay for their plumbing. You know, so again, $300,000 for plumbing, or just the acreage to run the deed, and I've got the deed here. And of course, guess who signed it? Mayor Keck, and Nick Bradley, city clerk. Nobody else signed this deed, just Mayor Keck and the city clerk signs this deed, Nick Bradley, to run the infrastructure. So again, how many EMS employees would that have bought?
Are you telling me that he did the deal without signatures from any of the council members?
There's signatures.
Well, should they not have been involved?
I don't know if the council members were involved in this, if they approved it or not. What I'm telling you is the only signatures on this deed approving this in 2020 was Alan Keck and Nick Bradley. Okay, so then they had a big land survey done, and that cost a big bunch of money. Okay, so the pre-closing draft, $338,000. Okay, here's all, and I posted all this. It's a sketch of the land. That cost money. All of this preparing the infrastructure for a private business to come in. Again, only signed by Alan Keck, Nick Bradley. Then it gets into the invoices of what they've spent so far on the plumbing. I say plumbing. It's for Somerset Water Department, Horse Soldier. Says right on it, Horse Soldier Distillery, water supply planning. Oh, the planning. So we've just... $4,352. $924. $3,138. Again, Horse Soldier Distillery, water supply planning. Professional service, $1,824. $1,520. Okay, this is all going to Bell. By the way, all of these are going to Bell Engineering.
That's what I was gonna ask.
Another invoice, $1,520. Somerset Water, again, planning, $2,118. That's a lot of money. That is a whole lot of money, folks,
Just for planning.
for planning for a private business to come here. And you tax dollars paid, your taxpayers pay for it. Okay, so is any of this illegal? Probably not. Okay, some of it raises an eyebrow. There's a couple of things I'm going to send to the Attorney General's office. I'm also going to send to the Ethics Committee, and we'll follow up on it. But here's the bottom line. You know, that magistrate, I don't know which magistrate said that, and you just really pissed off Alan Keck. Because he was mad at that meeting. He brought it up twice that, you know, he said that you're misspending money. Well, you know, perhaps this is why he said that. When you're spending $30,000, Mayor Keck, on resort hotels and high-end restaurants, and the taxpayers are paying for it, and that was in about a 2-year time frame. When you're spending well over $1 million on a bridge to nowhere university that never got built, okay, and you and your brother are benefiting from that, you know, that raises an eyebrow, okay? And it does deserve magistrates and taxpayers to ask questions. And an auditor with half a brain that was a real audit, okay, would ask these questions. And they didn't. So when you tout, we got a clean audit. We got a clean audit. Last night, one of the city councilmen, we got a clean audit. No, you got a math problem. That's not a real audit. Real audits would ask questions. Anyway, I think I covered enough. Also all throughout this audit is a lot of real estate deals where SPEDA is buying property and selling property. Now, you know, is SPEDA, you know, is that a real estate agency? Is this what they're supposed to be doing? I don't know. You know, but it doesn't look like they're really making money off of these deals. Because when you go and look at when they buy the property and then when they sell it, they're not making, you know, the whole idea about a real estate deal is you're going to make some money off it or something. And the audit, and this is why real audits are important. That's not explained. It's not explained. You know, did somebody come in there and buy it and put a new business and make jobs? That would be nice to know. You know, then we could give some kudos. This is why when they say go to clean audit, this is not a real audit. Okay?
Once again, follow the money. Once again, follow the money.
There you go. Let's see. Did I cover this? Yeah. Okay. So we did it in an hour. Actually, we're 2 minutes over. I can't believe we did it in an hour. Okay. We're going to stay on this. What happened last night is they voted for to tell the county, well, if you don't like how we run EMS, then you run it. You know, Mayor Keck, well, I don't like what you said about me, so I'm going to take my ball and go home. I mean, that was the appearance to me last night. Maybe I'm wrong. So the county now has a chance to come back.
I have one question. With all this spending going on, did they ever get their sewer plant fixed?
No. As far as I know, they're still getting, yeah. Though we're talking the wastewater treatment plant where they were sending the toxic waste, millions of gallons of toxic waste through. No, it's still not completely fixed. He's still begging for grants and going to ask the taxpayers to pay, I guess, several $1 million to fix that. So, no, it's not completely fixed. And they're still getting, my understanding is they're still getting from the Kentucky Water District violations. So, no, that's not done either. So, anyway, folks, we are going to stay on this. We have put a tremendous amount of work into this. I hope that you go and look, you know, don't take my, you know, who are you going to believe, me or your lying eyes? Don't take my word for it. A lot of you people are new people out there. Welcome aboard. We appreciate you watching. You don't know who I am. I can be making all this up. No. I'm not. Go look at the audit yourself. Go line by line, and every dime that I just, you know, retorted just here, it's in this audit. They spent this money. So, and Mayor Keck has spent about $30,000 on high-end hotels and stuff, and over $1 million on a bridge to nowhere. Somerset University. I know I'm forgetting something else that he spent a bunch of money on, but anyways.
You might tell them where these. You might tell them where these motels are.
Oh, Florida,
Key West.
Vegas, DC. So he had a lot of vacations at the taxpayer's expense, and he has never answered for this. Never answered for it. And it dodges it every step of the way. So that's where we're at, folks. We're going to stay on it. We appreciate you staying with us. If you have any... Also, thank you to my confidential sources out there who are constantly feeding me information.
And we always need more of those.
We always need more of those. And I know some of you, we have never burned a confidential source. No one has ever lost their job because giving us information, because I understand that. I was a federal agent for a lot of years, a narcotics agent. I'm telling you, I understand the value of confidential sources. We don't burn sources. So, anywho, we are done. We're 5 minutes over. We will see you next time on Truth or Politics. Thank you, Dan the Man. Thank you, Michael. Thank you for all the Facebook workers. And thank you for MBR TV and our watchers on television. Thank you. Bye.